Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
The wife parked not where she promised her husband, and it hurt him, and he wanted to find out what was going on, and for good reason. Today's story has a similar plot. Enjoy watching it. Today is the day I begin my revenge. A month ago, I discovered that my wife has a lover, and it doesn't make me happy at all. Her lover is a rich idiot who's named Richard. I suppose it doesn't really matter how I found out, the important thing is that I did. But just in case you're wondering, I was picking up a part from one of our suppliers needed to repair the control system of one of the cars at work. On the way back, I thought I saw her car drive past the road I was queuing on to leave. It sounded like she was driving home, which was strange because just 5 minutes earlier, I called her to see if she wanted me to pick up anything at the store on my way home, and she said she was at home. So I drove home, wondering why she had lied to me. When I returned home, her car was parked in the same spot it had been in when I left in the morning. As I approached the door, I heard the fan running in the bathroom and water pouring into the pipes. There was no doubt she was taking a shower. The big question in my head was why. I came up with several reasons why she might have lied to me, but none of them matched what was starting to feel true. I initially thought she might have spilled something on herself and needed to wash it off, but it wasn't what I was thinking. Probably somewhere deep down, I expected to find something unwanted. I entered the house as quietly as possible, sneaked into the bathroom, and, as expected, she was in the shower. Her clothes were piled on the floor, and on top were her dirty panties. I don't know how I restrained myself from grabbing her and beating the man's name out of her before throwing her out of the house, but I didn't, probably out of shock. Somehow, I just quietly turned around and went back to work. I replaced the part and was about to turn on the power when I heard a cry of stop. I jumped, and more importantly, it stopped me from turning on the switch. I looked towards the source of the scream, although I knew who it was. It was the other Colin who works here, one of the bosses. We call him Pooch. "What are you doing, Mac? You don't usually make mistakes like this," he said. I realized that I had not configured the part correctly. If I had turned on the power, it could have destroyed the drive unit, which would have cost thousands to replace and even more for downtime. Damn, thanks Pooch. You saved me from a big mistake. What's wrong with you, Mac? Is something bothering you? Nothing, buddy. Just a little distracted. Are you sure? I could see the way he looked at me and knew he didn't believe me. Well, leave it for now. Come with me. No, Mac. Come with me. It was rare for him to speak like that to anyone, and the way he walked away told me that the best thing I could do was follow him. So I locked up my tools, grabbed the laptop I was supposed to use to calibrate the device, and followed him. He led me not to his office, which is visible from all sides, but upstairs to a room usually used for closed meetings. He came in, turned to me, pulled out a chair, and sat down, gesturing for me to do the same. I saw you come back and noticed that you suddenly had a problem. When you left, you were your usual cheerful self, exchanging words with everyone you passed. When you returned, you didn't talk to anyone. You looked like if anyone said something wrong, you'd hit them. Now I know B and D can be jerks sometimes, but I couldn't stand it. I don't think I've cried since I was 10, but that was it. I started crying like a baby. Pooch didn't say anything, he just sat there and waited for me to calm down. Don't ask me how long I sat there, all I know is that when I finally pulled myself together, he was still there, handing me a napkin. Embarrassed, I took it and apologized for my pathetic display. Mac, don't worry about it. I know this isn't something you usually do. Trust me, this won't go anywhere. So tell me about it. Tears flowed again, and I told him everything, how I saw her, followed her, and what I found. What he said next surprised me. I knew part of his story but not the emotions he had experienced. He admitted, almost proudly, that when he began to suspect and investigate what his wife was doing, he cried too. We talked for over an hour until I was able to return to the work floor. Before we left the room, we agreed that this conversation would never happen. I had the machine ready to go in less than 15 minutes. The conversation that never happened left me with many thoughts and questions to answer, the first of which was whether I could survive this if she stopped. I didn't confront her, in fact, I still haven't. During that first week, I managed to behave almost normally, although I spent more time than usual in my workshop. When I was at home, Elaine noticed that I was, shall we say, a little out of sorts. I attributed it to the fact that BTK was considering purchasing a new extrusion machine, and I was the one tasked with evaluating which one to buy. A few days after my discovery, Puig took me aside and gave me a piece of paper, quietly saying, "I didn't give this to you." On it was written a name and address. I didn't need more details to figure out who it belonged to. To say I wasn't sure what to do was a huge understatement. I was definitely considering hurting at least one of them. I knew that no matter what I did, if I decided not to pursue legal options, I would need to remain in denial to protect myself. I've had bicycles since I was a child, and I still have them. If the weather is nice and I don't have to carry anything heavy or bulky to or from work, I often ride my bike. This means that if I need to run errands, like that Monday, I'll take one of the company cars, and so on. The day after receiving the address, I took an old, unpainted van and found his house. Luckily for me, his house is behind a patch of woodland known as Fogel's Forest, which almost surrounds it on 3 sides. The next day, Saturday, I took Elaine to the train station. After dropping her off, I returned home and went for a bike ride, taking a pair of binoculars with me. I drove by, hid my bike out of sight in the woods, and made my way through the trees. The house is isolated and quite old, about 200 or 300 years old, not that it matters. In some twisted way, I enjoyed climbing and spying, but the reality of why I was there hit me hard. When he pulled up in a fairly new Jaguar, I saw the passenger. It was my wife. Stupidly, I thought she was shopping in Cambridge. Seeing her come out and almost run to him to hug him was the most painful thing I've ever witnessed from her. This was something she did often, especially if we hadn't been together for a couple of days and she was excited about what was coming next, which meant her and me. I didn't need to see more. I wouldn't have seen much anyway. I could hardly see anything through the tears streaming down my face. I made my way through the trees back to my bike, feeling only pain. Driving home, the pain found a companion, the need to make her feel that pain. But from what I saw, losing me wouldn't cause her much trouble. Definitely not close to the pain I feel. I spent most of the next couple of weeks either riding my bike or in my workshop, mostly just avoiding her but also planning and learning how I could hurt her the most without causing physical harm. My job was mostly mechanical, replacing or installing new parts, so we were called fitters. Now electronics play a big role in my work, and I have the grand title of engineer. Of course, I had to take many courses to understand electrical control systems and such. This knowledge would come in handy now. In the UK, you can legally own a gun with the appropriate license, whereas stun guns are completely banned. But if you have the knowledge, it's not hard to build one, so that's what I did. I also spent some money on a few props, a black curly wig and coat that I bought at a charity shop, and a couple of rolls of palette film that I swiped from work. I also called the flower shop to order a special bouquet of flowers to be delivered on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. I thought about having one less flower in the bouquet than our wedding years, but decided that might be too much of a clue if the police got involved. To be honest, I think ordering daisies is a big clue, especially since I wanted them to add a certain scent. I'm sure no one knows that I know daisies are the flowers of traders or why I accidentally asked for that particular scent. She doesn't know and will probably think it's chrysanthemums, but I think the scent will hit the spot. On the day before I was about to start my mission, I took 2 envelopes to her parents, asking them to give her a note marked Monday if she came over on Monday night to feed the pets, and another note on Tuesday if she didn't come by. If she didn't come by Tuesday, they were not to give her the note for Monday. I felt guilty using them this way, but if things went as planned, they wouldn't know anything about my end goal. It was they, not me, who offered to cook one of her favorite dishes if she came over on Monday. They said they could leave without telling her, pointing out that if left alone in the house, she would look for a note for Tuesday. They suggested writing another note warning her not to try to get clues in advance and to return only when she was supposed to. They gave me an envelope, paper, and pen, and I wrote a note. My observations, if you can call them that, make me almost sure he is working from home. I know that after COVID, more people do this than before. It also became clear to me that he had few visitors other than my wife, no other women, friends, or family. I only saw one other vehicle during my observation, and it was a delivery from one of the local supermarkets. I saw my wife there a couple of times. He brought her. It seems like the only thing I have to worry about is whether he has security cameras. Obviously, he doesn't have an official camera system. If he did and wanted people to be aware, he would have had to warn them. So, all I have to worry about is whether he installed his own cameras outside or inside. A few times during the week, I'm sure she's there when she meets him around 10:30 and returns soon after. I know this because her phone is either turned off or she has temporarily turned off GPS. I give her half an hour to leave and then go home. I place solid blocks of red watercolor paint in the shower head. They should turn the water blood red, but I don't think they should leave any stains. For the next step, I leave an old cassette player with a surprise added for her to find. I wrap it in a towel for her to use after the shower. I slide an envelope with a message under the bed in the spare room. Returning home, I rush to the shower, undress, and turn it on. I dive in with my eyes closed, take the shower gel, lather myself up, and begin to wash. I'm rinsing off the sweat and night odors from my regular Monday lunch session with Dick. I chuckle quietly. Most people call Richard Dick, but not for the same reason I do. God, just thinking about him makes me hot. I scream as the water flowing down the drain turns red, dark blood red. Still screaming, I turn off the water and check myself, finding nothing suspicious. I turn the water back on, and it turns red again. I understand that the red is not my blood, the water comes from the red shower head. I jump out of the shower, swearing at my husband, and grab a towel, pressing it to my face so I can dry myself and see without water running into my eyes. I tear off the towel and see the red imprint of my face on it. I look at the shower and see that the water is still running red. I stop the shower, unscrew the head, and find what appear to be red blocks that look like watercolors. I'll kill him, I say out loud to no one. I remove the blocks, screw the head back on, and continue showering now with clean, uncolored water. Idiot, how could he do this to me? When I finish, I reach for another towel from the rail and realize there isn't any left. Without anything, I have to go to the closet in the stairwell to get a clean towel. I find an old cassette player wrapped in it. Not thinking much of it, still swearing, I wipe myself off. After getting dressed in my anger, I don't realize that I've taken the player. I go downstairs, make a pot of tea, pour a cup, and walk into the living room, noticing a note on the cassette player that says, "Play me." In bewilderment, I press the button, and the theme song from some old American TV show starts playing, followed by my husband's voice. As you know, Friday is April Fool's Day, so I thought this year, since I need to be in Lancaster this week and you might get bored or feel lonely, we could make a whole week out of it. Yours truly, the task is to solve puzzles and collect information to find out where you should be on Friday evening. Is this mission possible? The first clue is where we first made love in this house. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Still puzzled, I reach for the player, thinking I need to listen to it again. A small flame and smoke appear from the cassette player. I jump back and, grabbing my cup, pour its contents onto the smoldering plastic to put out the fire. I take the cassette out of the player to check and find that the tape has simply burned out. I guess you think you're funny, mister. Well, let's see how funny you feel when you don't get any intim when you get home, I say out loud again, even though there's no one there to hear me. Angrily, I clean up the mess he made and throw the old cassette player in the trash before pouring myself another cup of tea. I sit down and fume with anger, deciding that I will not play his stupid game. Despite my anger and determination not to play into his stupid game, I can't stop remembering the day we moved. As soon as our friends left, we started kissing at the front door, and then just by looking at each other, we ran upstairs to our room. Threw the mattress on the floor, we made love. Then he dragged the mattress into the guest room, and there we really made love. Oh, those were the days, just starting to live together, just him and me, united and ready to conquer the world. A brief feeling of guilt runs through me as Dick appears in my thoughts. Although I'm still angry, I start to wonder which room he hid the clue in and try to push it out of my mind. Having finished my tea, I head back to the kitchen, ostensibly to start preparing dinner. I take out the pork chop, but he has managed to pique my curiosity. Despite my reluctance, I know that I will not rest until I find out what he has left for me. I didn't notice anything obvious in our room when I got dressed, so I went to the spare room. I do a quick inspection, and nothing catches my eye. I look in the closet, all the dresser drawers, and nightstands, nothing. I keep searching. Although I did not like his 2 previous jokes, he is good-natured and, although sometimes he can go too far, all his jokes are without malice. It took me a while, but eventually, I found the note. Lainey, here's a little poem with a hint. Where did we first say I love you to each other? I smile, remembering the day he took me to Cambridge. We saw this bridge. I know you tried to tell me why it was special, but I didn't understand. The only thing I remember about it was that man with the apple. What was his name? Yes, Isaac Newton. I wanted to eat something. I still don't understand how you arranged it, but instead of a hot dog, you took me on a boat ride on the Cam River, and there was a picnic waiting for us. I almost fell into the river, capsizing in the process. You surprised me, didn't get angry, just made sure I wasn't hurt, laughed, and hugged me. My smile widens as I continue to remember. Although he had not yet completed 2 years of his studies and had little money, he did not complain. We shortened our day so that I could eat. We went to the market and found an exotic meat stall. We shared a crocodile burger. It tasted like chicken but was fatty like pork. I smile, remembering Daniel Jackson in Stargate trying to explain to the boy what a chicken is. Then we went for a walk and found that church. What was it called? St. Mary, yes, that was her name. She was incredible. We could see the whole city from the spire. He then took me to dinner at an Indian restaurant, a new experience for me at that time. This is where my love for Asian food began. We then took the bus to the station to catch the train home, and when we got back to Hemmingford, he walked me home. We kissed and talked on the threshold for a very long time. Then I told him how I felt, and he hugged me tightly, spun me around, and shouted, "I love you too." My father opened the door and said, "This is all very good, but you can make it quieter." God, we were so embarrassed. He quickly kissed me on the cheek and hurried away. Mom and Dad have been making fun of him for it ever since. We were so in love then, his every action was for me. I think it's still like that now. I feel guilty that I could never live up to his loving actions. Even this stupid quest is special. It's not that I don't want to, I do, but my mind doesn't work like that. I can never come up with something special, and when I do, I overthink it and ruin everything. I look at my watch and decide it must be there, so I stop by Mom and Dad's to find my next clue. I arrive a little before 5. Mom is preparing dinner, and Dad is in his workshop. As soon as I walk in, Mom invites me to stay for dinner. I agree, knowing that I can put the chop in the refrigerator when I get home and eat it tomorrow. She made beef and kidney pie, my favorite dish. It's strange, she usually only cooks it for 4, although sometimes she makes it for the 3 of us. I start telling her about my day. As soon as I mention the shower, I realize I have to justify why I was showering and quickly make up a story about how I spilled a bottle of plant fertilizer on myself. I complain that Colin put it on a high shelf and didn't close the lid properly. "Call your father," my mother says, interrupting my story. I open the back door and shout, "Papa." I hear him take off his shoes and walk in, holding them in his hands. He puts them in the closet and then goes to the toilet to wash his hands. When he comes back, he looks at me and says, "It wasn't permanent, right?" It takes me a few moments to realize he's talking about the paint. "You knew?" I asked. My father nods as he sits down at the table, and soon after, my mother places the plate in front of him, then passes it to me before taking her seat. "We know he's giving you a game for April Fool's Day. He told us a little about it. What stage are you at now?" "The clue said I should come here," I reply. "Why do you think you need to be here?" "The clue said to come to the first place where we said I love you to each other." "You know that's why you always call it a stupid trick," my mother says. "So, what do you expect from us?" "I don't know, maybe a message, a letter, something like that." "Well, maybe your mom will find something after dinner," my father says. I nod, my mouth full. I haven't eaten my mother's beef and kidney pie in a long time, and I forgot how delicious it is. She always makes it light and airy, but mine always comes out dense. No one spoke for a while. I ate everything on my plate. When I swallowed the last bite, I said, "Thank you, Mom. It was wonderful." "It tastes good enough for you to wash the dishes," she replies. God, Mom, I'm a guest. If we weren't going for dessert, Colin would already be at the sink filling a basin with water without being asked if he was here. Yeah, okay, I say sharply, pushing my chair back. Sorry, I can't be just like my ideal husband. I get several unintelligible replies as I stand up to comply with my mother's request. When I finish washing the dishes, I turn around and see that I am alone in the kitchen. I didn't even notice that there was no noise or talking while I was washing the dishes. I think this is the first time I felt that something was wrong, that something wasn't quite right with my parents. Usually, the house is full of conversation and laughter. My parents' life was always filled with quarrels and laughter. I assumed that my parents rarely fight and that my presence interrupted their time for reconciliation. Perhaps that's why my mother made beef and kidney pie. Should I make some tea? I shout, but receive no answer. Who wants some tea? I shout louder again, but still don't get a response. I go into the living room and shout, Mom? Dad? Where are you? Not seeing them in the living room, I shout upstairs, but again I hear only silence. This is weird, I tell myself. I return to the dining room and see an envelope on the table with my name on it and one phrase written, "Don't open until Tuesday morning." I smile, recognizing Colin's handwriting and the fact that he never capitalizes the day of the week or the month or uses punctuation. Of course, I don't follow the instructions and tear open the envelope, expecting to see another poem. Instead of a poem, I read just one sentence: "If you're reading this message, you've come too early. Come back tomorrow for the next clue." Damn, I wish he could understand a write your instead of your. Heck, my parents might be in on the joke, but I'll make them give me the right clue. I run upstairs and check all the rooms to make sure they are not there. I return downstairs and go to my father's barn. Inside, I see him sitting on a bench, and I tear open the envelope. If you're reading this, it means you were looking for your parents and found this, not theirs. As I said, come tomorrow for the next clue. I can't help but smile, it shows how much he knows me. After putting on my coat, wig, latex gloves, and of course a mask, I walk up to his door and ring the bell. He looks annoyed at being bothered, but as soon as the door opens, I push him back and hit him with the taser. He collapses, twitching like an epileptic after a chilly enema. Good idea. When he comes to, I wrap him in film like a mummy, even around his head, although I leave a hole for breathing and a small gap so I can stun him again. I ask him about the presence of cameras, and he says there are none. I hit him a few more times to confirm his position and see if he's lying. The third time he comes to his senses, he begs me to stop and again says there are no cameras. I finally believe him and get to the point. Well, Dick, you're having a night with the wrong person, and someone wants you to stop doing that. Got it? Yes, he whispers. God, just one word and you can understand that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. If I didn't already hate him, that would be enough. Tell me all about where you met her. I knew her many years ago. She went horse riding at my aunt's riding school, and we met by chance at the railway station one day. There was some kind of glitch, I don't remember exactly. We talked, and it was a pleasant wait. I invited her to dinner, she refused, but I insisted on meeting for coffee another day. She was a little hesitant, but I persuaded her to meet for coffee. I took her to Les Mustaches, de Chats. Is that the fancy place a couple of miles down Hemmingford Road? Yes, continue. Well, she liked it, and I talked her into agreeing to dinner. I guess you're not her husband, I interrupt him harshly. Oh, you got paid to. It's none of your damn business. So you had dinner while her husband was away? As he continued, I realized that in the last year, I had only spent 3 nights away from home. Last June, I went with Puig to Italy to inspect an extruder that BTK from Germany offered to buy. Funny, because I used a similar reason to explain to Elaine why I'm not home this week. We had a nice evening, and as you mentioned, Les Mustaches, de Chats is only a couple of miles away, so I brought her here for a late-night cappuccino. It seemed like nothing would happen, but I was sure he was smiling under the layers of film, and I thought about hitting him with the stun gun again, but I didn't want to discourage him from telling all the details. Well, we went out to the car, and I demanded a goodbye kiss, so to speak. At that moment, and without a word between us, we went back inside, and well, you know how it goes. I was sure he was grinning, so I hit him with the taser again. When he comes to his senses, I say, "You don't feel so smug now, do you?" "No, please stop doing this," he begs. Is she planning to leave her husband? I almost let it slip and said me, but instead, I said, "Not at first." I wanted her to leave him from the beginning, but she always refused. But I think she's starting to give in. I was hoping she'd leave him soon. This was what I didn't want to hear. Many may think that I'm a fool for wanting to keep her, but I really do. How do you keep in touch? Her husband didn't find anything. We don't keep in touch. That was her suggestion after the first time we slept together. I hit him with the taser before he could finish speaking. When he comes to his senses, I say, "You will call your infidelity just a night." I don't want to hear the phrase "made love" from your treacherous mouth. Understand? Yes, please stop doing this, he replies. Okay, so after the first time we had an intimate, we agreed not to exchange numbers. She didn't want to leave evidence for her husband. Is that why you always take her away? Yes, but she seems to like it when he gives her rides when she's gone for the day. I imagined him grinning under the wrapping, so I hit him with the taser again. Does she have a key to the house? No, for the same reason. Please, I beg you, don't hit me with the taser again. I'll never see her again, please. As much as I wanted to, I restrained myself from another blow to reduce temptation. I went to inspect the house. Would you believe he has a wine cellar with a huge number of bottles? The rest of the house is pretty bare, by which I mean there are no decorations, no paintings, nothing to give the house any personality, if you know what I mean. Yes, he has a lot of things, TVs in every room with individual surround sound systems and so on, but it's all hidden. I only found all this because I was curious, opening cabinets, etc. I considered myself lucky when I found his computer. It was turned off, so if there was a camera, it didn't matter, but I went back and hit him with the taser again for not mentioning it. He assured me that there was no camera since it was a desktop computer. He was probably telling the truth. However, this gave me an idea. Okay, Dick, are there any pictures on the computer that my husband wouldn't like to see? No, his answer was so categorical that I didn't believe him. Okay, Dick, I'll go and have a look. If I find something like that, I'll hit you between the legs with a stun gun once for every photo or video I find. Or you can tell me right now where they are kept. I didn't think that by seeing only his eyes, I would be able to see the horror that appeared in them. He immediately started telling me where the files were on his PC and on the internet, and all the passwords to find them. I copied the files to a USB drive and deleted them. I also accessed his accounts and donated most of it to the NHS. This will hurt almost as much as his balls will. After explaining to him that it is not good to interfere in someone else's family, especially if you are recording your actions, I noticed that he began to complain of pain. I didn't realize it right away, but he had wet himself when I hit him with the stun gun. Oh, what a pity. I released his legs and warned him that if he tried anything, he wouldn't like it. He clearly believed me or no longer had the strength to resist and behaved well. I forced him to use the upstairs toilet, sat him on the toilet, and secured him in place with more wrapping tape. I was hungry, so I searched his refrigerator, found a nice cut of beef, put it under the grill, and found fresh, uncut bread in the bread bin, along with onions and butter. Here's lunch. I butter the bread and remember a documentary about 16th or 17th century sailors, which says that bread and water were used as punishment not only because of boredom but also because such food causes severe constipation. It makes a person feel bloated and uncomfortable, and any movement becomes painful. I cook the steak with onions, making delicious smells, and eat it as a sandwich in front of him. I also cut off a large piece of bread and give it to him along with a mug of water. Knowing that she expects a call at 8 in the evening, I don't call. I wonder how long she will wait before calling herself. Around 9, I get an answer. She calls, but I don't answer. 10 minutes later, I see her driving a car before her phone goes off. I run around the house and turn off all the lights. 5 minutes later, I see headlights approaching. I warn him that if he makes a sound, he will regret it. She knocks, then hits, then pounds on the door. I remain quiet, and eventually, she leaves. Half an hour or so later, I make him give out his credit card PIN, then drive his Jaguar to the long-term parking lot. Discovering I've missed the last train, I take a taxi back to his place. Damn it, thank God for those masks if you don't want to be recognized. I change the bedding and sleep in his bed. I leave him on the toilet and give him water. I wake up early, give him some more water and a piece of bread, then ride my bike to work. I arrive at work at 5:30. I'm guessing that Elaine will be at her parents' place quite early on, although it doesn't really matter. She won't be able to get the next clue until Nag's Head opens, and it will say that the next clue won't be available until tomorrow evening. I'm about to leave work when I realize there's a serious flaw in my plan. If she sees me on the way to her from the house, she'll recognize me and the bike. Of course, my suit will help hide me, but she will definitely recognize the bike. So, I wrap black tape around the frame to disguise it. Tonight, I have some venison sausages that I found in his freezer. I'll cook them with mash and peas with gravy from the box, and red wine. It wasn't bad, but I would have preferred good pork sausages and regular gravy. I give my housemate more bread and water, and I don't think he's too happy. It looks like the same can be said about my wife when she finds no one at home again. Wednesday was about the same. She was supposed to have flowers delivered at 7 o'clock. I wonder if she'll try calling. I call his phone and order pizza, of course, on his card. I eat half of it and generously give him the other half without even scraping off the filling. I also let him drink 2 glasses of water. The ungrateful man didn't even say thank you. On Thursday, I ordered an Indian takeout, medium madras, rice, and 2 kormas. I also gave him alcohol. Would you believe he has a thing for white rum and cola, or maybe he's just happy with something other than water? I noticed several bottles of champagne in the wine cellar and decided to take 1, maybe 2, with me. Goodbye, tomorrow, idiot, I say with a smile. He knows me too well. After locking the shed and checking the garage, I lock my parents' house and go home to wait for him to call at 8, as he rarely does when he's away. 8 hours pass, and neither my home phone nor my cell phone rings. I can't understand, he always called me at 8 without exception. I start to get angry, but then I think that this is part of his game, so I calm down, thinking he will call later, maybe at 8:30 or even 9 o'clock. I don't hear anything by 9 o'clock, so I call him. His cell goes straight to voicemail, and I leave a message, "Colin, stop these stupid games." Yes, it was nice to remember the day when we confessed our love, but why do it with the shower? You have no idea how angry I was about this, but I admit, when you sent me to my parents, I was okay with your joke. But ignoring me is not okay, so you better call me back. You have 10 minutes. I end the call and wait. 20 minutes pass, and he still hasn't called, so I call again. Another voicemail. Okay, you want to play stupid games? To hell with you. My dad calls you Cupid, and we all know what that really is. So, you stupid expletive, you can wait until Friday when you get home before I talk to you. I angrily press the red button and, like a fool, wait for him to call back. He doesn't call back, so I figure to hell with him. I'll go to Dick's and enjoy his company. Damn it, it's just not my evening, he's not at home now. I'm angry at him too. Crap, this is hell. I scream, slamming the steering wheel. Now I'm angry at Dick too. I'm going home. I shouldn't be so angry, especially at Dick. I have no complaints against him, but Colin and his stupid games made me angry. Well, to hell with him. As soon as I get to Dick's, I'll stay with him for the whole week. Not today, not now, night has suddenly become the last thing on my mind. I come home, mix myself some really strong vodka and orange juice, and drink it in one gulp. I pour myself a second glass and sit staring at the phone, willing it to ring. Of course, it doesn't call, so I drink the second glass, then pour myself another, drinking it while browsing pet flicks to take my mind off my stupid decisions. I wake up later, during the credits of the original version of Dune. My mouth feels like a cat has pooped in it. I see a glass half full of orange liquid, so I pick it up and drink it. Damn, warm vodka with orange, not what I wanted to drink at 3 in the morning. A little unsteadily, I climb the stairs to bed. The alarm goes off at the usual time. My head is pounding, my stomach is churning, and as soon as I stand up, the room rocks, and I run to the toilet, throwing up. To my surprise, I feel a little better when I finish, even better after I brush my teeth and shower, cursing when I discover Colin has brought mouthwash with him. After a cup of tea and a toast, I remember why I'm feeling unwell and get in the car to drive to my parents again. Would you believe it? I get pulled over and given an alcohol test. I'm lucky, the indicator is 33 and the failure is 35. The policeman lets me go, giving me a dressing down for driving after heavy drinking. Would you believe it? He accompanies me to my parents' house. Thinking about it, I'm glad I didn't have mouthwash with me, as that would have sent me over the edge. They are not surprised to see me so early because they know why I am here. Mom invites me for a cup of tea. I'm sitting at the table when Mom puts 3 mugs of tea on the table. Dad comes in and hands me an envelope. I tear it open. Did you enjoy the shower? I bet your face was grim, huh? I'm sure it's true. Here's another hint for you. After viewing a specific group in the pub, I asked for your hand. There is one pub nearby with an evening joke to try. I knew it had to be about how we got engaged. It's easy. We went to see Blondie at the Corn Exchange, and then we went to a pub called the Bathhouse. Mom reads it over my shoulder and says, I don't know of any pubs around here called Bathhouse. No, Mom, that's a clue. I know it's Nags. What? From both Mom and Dad? You know the owner, Jerry? They both nod as I explain. Well, it was only 2 or 3 weeks after his wife ran away. Yes, that's where the joke is. What do you mean? Well, he stopped bathing. He smelled bad. He needed a bath. Okay, we soon started calling Nags no bathhouse or bathhouse. That wasn't very nice, Elaine. This time? I shrug. Maybe, but one evening, we think Jerry either heard us or someone told him, and suddenly he started washing again. Well, often he never did, no one ever spoke about it. He could just deal with it or talk to himself. We joked at the time that the pub and Jerry were out of smell. Dad laughs, but Mom frowns. We spend the next few hours chatting, mostly with Mom telling me how romantic and attentive Colin is and how I should follow his direction and not second guess or do anything before he wants it. I walk into Nag's Head right after they open. Jerry is standing at the end of the bar chatting with Malcolm. Damn, does Malcolm ever go home? Jerry looks at me, says something to Malcolm, and, taking a glass from under the bar, holds it under the vodka optic. He looks at me and asks, as usual, if I want anything. I shake my head and ask Jerry if my Mac left anything here for me. He sucks in a breath through his teeth, shaking his head like a dubious mechanic looking under the hood of your car for the first time, and then asks, what is this thing? Jerry, don't be stupid. Give it here. He grins and lifts a glass into which he pours a measure of vodka, adds orange juice, and hands it to me, saying, it's only a single, you can drive. I'm not sure, but I accept it. Then he pulls an envelope from behind one of the bottles under the row of options. Opening it, I find the next clue, this is the winner, but no matter what happens, wait until after dinner tomorrow. Wednesday, man, I exclaim loudly, and hear Jerry and Malcolm giggling. I quickly drink the vodka and leave. Being Tuesday, there is no market, so the market turns into a parking lot. Leaving the pub, I start walking towards my car and see that policeman who comes to Nags, Brown is his name, walking towards me. Obviously, he has just left the police station. Remembering my conversation with the policeman this morning, I feel myself blushing and wonder if I should get into the car since I just raised my alcohol level. Instead, I go to a cafe. Before I walk in the door, I wonder if Colin meant dinner as lunch or dinner as an evening meal. Damn it, why do we have to use the same word for both? I drink a cup of tea and eat a ham and cheese sandwich. While I eat, I think about Max's little game and how my mom thinks it's really romantic. I admit I agree with her now, although waiting until tomorrow for the next clue is annoying, especially if it's dinner. Because if it is, there are plenty of places to go. Heck, lunch too, nags excluded. There are only chips, nuts, and other nonsense in bags or sweaty cheese buns. So my options are the cafe, Jamal, the Beehive, and Martin's house. Oh, and that fancy place with the French name, whatever it is, Les Chats or something like that. I hope not, because this is the place where you could say I first started dating Dick. Beehive? I doubt it. I can't remember Mac and me eating there. We had lunch several times on Saturdays. I look at the clue again and realize that he's not telling me where we should have dinner, only that I'll get the clue after dinner. Oh my God, talk about waiting with nothing else to do. I'm going to Dick's. Why not? A couple of hours with him should distract me. Strange, his car isn't here. He's been working from home since the first lockdown. I gave him a few during a video call. That's it. He probably had to go to work. I would have called him, but we agreed not to call or text each other, which seemed like a good idea at the time, but now it's annoying in more ways than one. Oh well, I'll go home, do some laundry, and maybe watch something on TV. I stay home and do just that. I cook the cutlet I got out last night and baked potatoes. 8 o'clock passes, still no call. At 8:30, I think the hell with it, and go to Dick's again. Would you believe it? He is still not home. Disappointed, I return home. At home, I check to see if Matt called. Of course, he didn't. I think about drinking vodka and decide not to. I watch TV and see there's a new season of Archer that we missed, so I turn it on. When the little request pops up after 3 episodes, I decide to try Dick again, only to find that he's still not there. I wonder where he went. He never said he was leaving. When I get home, I half expect to find a message from Mac, but no, nothing. This time, I drink vodka, but unlike last evening, only one. Wednesday drags on. I go to Dick's again, and he's still not there. I get home at 12:30 and do the ironing that I put off yesterday. Having heard nothing by 1:30, I start to get angry, well, more angry. 2 hours pass, and I decide to try Dick again. Guess what? He's still not home. I'm making myself a cheese sandwich for dinner but can't bring myself to do anything else. At 7 o'clock, there is a knock on the door. I half expect Colin to be standing there, but no, it's a young girl. I notice she is chewing gum before I notice what she has in her hands, a white box about 25 centimeters wide, just over 30 centimeters long, and about 75 centimeters deep. The girl asks, "Mrs. Mall, yes?" "Delivery for you." I take it and close the door. Opening the box, I see bright red flowers. I think they are chrysanthemums, but I'm not sure. They are beautiful. There is an envelope under the flowers. I smell the flowers, inhaling their scent before opening the envelope. Suddenly, I'm thinking about Dick instead of Mac. I find this difficult to understand and then realize that the flowers smell like Dick's cologne. Confused, I tear open the envelope. These flowers that you see represent your love for me. It's hard to be away from you. I feel like I'll never hug you again. Your next task, you will find it under your bed. Still holding the flowers, I practically run up the stairs and into our bedroom. Of course, there is another envelope under the bed. I'm sure I looked here yesterday while waiting to do laundry. I don't know how I could have missed it. Tearing it open, I read. To find out where you'll go next, you should send me a message. But think first about the last time we made love. The day may seem too difficult for you, so name the month when we were last close. What does he mean? It was last week. No, it wasn't. I fall onto the bed, suddenly realizing that we haven't made love in a while, but it must be this month since it's the 30th. I start typing March on my phone, but now that I think about it, that might not be the case. I clear it and start typing February because we were supposed to do this for Valentine's Day. Oh God, no. We had an argument because he said something about us not doing that. Guilt hits me as I realize it was 6 weeks ago. I think I'm starting to understand. I think about it, nothing stands out. But why not? We've been married for 20 years. It's like food, isn't it? We don't remember every meal, only special ones. I'm sure, no, I know, we did it between Christmas and New Year's because it wasn't working. Reality hits me hard. Oh no, I can't believe it. I don't think we've made love since December. Feelings of guilt are suddenly accompanied by shame and sadness. How could I not notice this? I know he tried to ignite desire in me many times, but I always gave him excuses, not in the mood, too tired, arguing, whatever. No, he can't just blame me. I don't think he's been trying since Valentine's Day. After being rejected for 6 weeks and on Valentine's Day, why would he try? I know why. I allowed my relationship with Dick, if you can call it that, to satisfy me, I suppose. Damn, the reality of my actions is amazing to me, and I start to cry. Several minutes pass, but through the sobs and tears, my trembling hands gain strength. December, I'm sorry. I didn't understand. I promise I will never say no again. Please forgive me. I've read this several times, each time thinking it's not enough, but I can't think of anything else. I'm afraid it's not enough. After sending it, I remember the voicemail I left him on Monday night telling him he wouldn't get any affection when he got home. God, how that must have seemed like an empty threat to him. I go downstairs and, guess what? I reach for the vodka, pour myself a glass, and sit next to the house phone, cell phone in hand, desperately waiting for his answer. Of course, drinking a lot of alcohol when you're feeling down is never a good idea, and after 2 hours, I've managed to turn everything around in my head. I think he made me remember all those happy moments to insult me even more and make me feel guilty. I get angrier and angrier, adding fuel to the fire. I finish the orange juice and switch to orange syrup. I start to text, telling him I understand his game, but the phone screen blurs and keeps typing the wrong letters. I give up and call him. The fact that the phone goes straight to voicemail does nothing to ease my anger, and I give vent to my indignation. You an idiot. You think you're smart, making me remember all these happy moments only to make me feel guilty because I didn't sleep with you as much as you want? Well, you can go to hell because you won't be having me anymore anytime soon. In fact, I'll move your things to the guest room. Maybe I'll hire a man to satisfy me. Maybe I already have. It's spontaneous. I didn't feel it coming until it did. I think I tasted it, maybe even saw it before I felt my stomach churning. With spontaneous vomit pouring out of me, I drop the phone and clamp my hands over my mouth as I rush to the toilet, slamming my face into the door frame, but it doesn't slow me down. All too soon, I tear again, and the seal through my clenched fingers gives way, the pressure expelling it in a thin line along the corridor wall. I continue to vomit long after my stomach is empty, crying pathetically. I suddenly want Mac to be here to look after me, to hold me, to help me clean. Oh, why isn't he here? After some time, I rinse my mouth in the sink directly from the tap and wash my face. I take the top off and soak it, half tottering as I go upstairs and get into bed. I feel like crap. When I drag myself out of bed, everything hurts, especially my face. When I see myself in the mirror, I can't believe what I see. I have a bruise from my eyebrow to my chin. I put on some clothes and go downstairs, and of course, the first thing I see is a diagonal line of dried vomit on the corridor wall. Oh great, this is exactly what I need. It reminds me of vomiting in the living room. Afraid of what I'll see, I hesitantly peek into the room. My stomach cramps again as soon as I see and smell what I've done. Luckily, although it's painful, there's nothing there to throw away. I start crying again and return to my knees, trying to clean the still drying mess. I begin in the living room and find my phone on the floor next to the chair. Suddenly, a memory pops into my head. I sigh as each word of the call cascades into my mind. Upset, I sit on the floor and cry. There's a knock on the door. No, I think to myself, not now. I can't deal with anyone right now. The knocking sounds again, louder this time, accompanied by a voice. Elaine! Elaine, I know you're there. Open the damn door. I know what you did and what you said last night. Open the damn door, and I mean right now. I guess it's some kind of parent-child bond, but even though I don't want to see or talk to my mother, I go and open the door. As soon as I open it, her head seems to recoil and she says, "Damn, Elaine, you smell like liquor." I don't answer. I just go to the kitchen and put the kettle on the stove. I hear her snort in apparent disgust as she follows me. "I'm here because someone called me this morning. He said Colin got a drunken voicemail from you in the middle of the night and was really worried about you." I just stand there, crying pitifully. "Don't waste your time with those crocodile tears. He told me what you were talking about, so even if I was stupid enough to think those were real tears, you wouldn't get any sympathy from me. I see that you left vomit in the hallway, and I also see that you didn't even start to clean it up." My sobs intensify with renewed vigor, and her words become meaningless to me as I collapse onto the kitchen floor, crying. I didn't want this. I didn't want this. I was angry. I got drunk. Don't tell me that you were almost crazy on Tuesday, telling me how nice it was to remember all these sweet things and how much you loved him. I know, but the next clue, it was terrible. It made me feel like he was building all these good feelings just to hurt me even more. What are you talking about, you stupid girl? He would never hurt you. Damn girl, your dad is crazy about me, but even I envy you compared to the way Colin treats you. I know, but you don't know what he said to me in that note. Why? What did he say? He said, "Mom, it's terrible. I can't tell you. Where's this damn note? I'll read it myself." "No, Mom, you can't." She examines the surfaces in the kitchen and, not finding a note, goes into the living room. I run after her, begging, "Mom, no, please. Mom." She reaches for the living room door. I beg pitifully, "No, Mom, don't go there." "Oh, Elaine, how could I not believe it? How much you drank." "Oh, there she is." She reads the note and looks at me. We look at each other, and she asks, "Well?" I stand there, feeling helpless, trying to deny what's happening. "If your answer was anything other than March, you're in trouble." I know I'm repeating no while shaking my head. "You mean you've been denying your husband since February?" My face contorts as if it's trying to push out tears that are no longer there, and only hoarse sounds come out of my mouth as I try to answer. "Not even on Valentine's Day? What's wrong with you, woman? January? What you're saying is that you haven't had an intimate this year?" "Oh God, no, he didn't." "But you were studying, right?" I feel her eyes boring into me, penetrating my soul. The silence is oppressive. I need her to say something, but when she does, I wish she wouldn't talk. "You disgust me." I'm shocked she never used that word. "The vomit you left all over this room and hallway is more acceptable to me than you. You better tell him and hope he forgives you. If he does, that's the best you deserve. I know if I did this to your father, he would throw me out without a second thought. And I'll tell you this, if Colin throws you out, don't come to us. We won't accept you. You better hope that the idiot you're sleeping with can take you in. Or is he married too?" I gasp. I had almost never heard my mother swear like that, except for the occasional damn and the like, and now she said damn twice and even the S word, a word even I almost never use. I desperately try to tell her she's wrong, but my throat is too tight to say anything. Then she leaves, emphasized by the loud slam of the door, so loud that I'm surprised the glass didn't break. I have not received a response to my message or voicemail, so I am again in limbo. As bad as I felt remembering my voicemail, my mother actually made things worse. I doubt I could feel any worse than I do now. I stay home all day, hoping for another clue or at least a text message from him explaining that he understood my drunken rage. Now, I fear for the future of my marriage, and of course, it reminds me of the many times recently when I let Dick know that I was almost ready to leave Mac when I never really thought about it. I try to go to bed early, but sleep doesn't come. So, I get up and watch TV until 3 a.m., and sleep still has a hard time coming. I wake up with a fright, looking at the clock and seeing that I've overslept. I quickly jump out of bed and run downstairs to see if there's anything for me. My heart skips a beat when I see an envelope that someone put in the mailbox. I open it with trembling hands. "Finally, your task is coming to an end. Feelings have taken you far. Now you're wondering where I'll send you. No, Stay where you are. He wants me to stay here. I breathe a sigh of relief. Why? I don't know. Nothing has changed, but it makes me happier. I know whoever dropped this in the mailbox probably contacted him, so he must have understood my drunken outburst. I feel better and suddenly realize that I need to go to the toilet. I run to the bathroom and breathe a sigh of relief again. I dress in clothes that can get dirty and clean the house thoroughly. I'm thinking of preparing something special for dinner to welcome him home. It would be a nice gesture, and God knows I have a lot of these to make up for. But it's Friday, and on Fridays, we usually eat out or get takeout. I decide to follow tradition, not because I feel lazy, but because I think I should start trying to put things back into place, back to the way they were. When he walks in the door, I look at him closely but can't tell if he's happy to be home or very unhappy. We just look at each other, and neither of us speaks. Still without saying a word, he goes upstairs. I hear the wardrobe opening, then several drawers. I'm paralyzed with fear, sure he's leaving me. I hear the shower running and sigh with relief again. He's going downstairs, probably a little faster than I usually expect. Finally, I say, smiling, I don't know whether to hug you or kill you. He just looks at me and says, you tell me in the car. Where are we going? I ask, you'll find out when we arrive. Let's go. We have to go. Well, the day has come when I will find out if she will stay with me. As I have done all week, I get up early and walk around the house to make sure I haven't left any trace of my presence. Nothing catches my attention, so I head to work. The day passes, and this time I leave at 5 p.m. As soon as I arrive at Dick's, I start pouring him alcohol. At first, he refuses, but I explain to him that if he drinks all he can and passes out, I'll let him go. Listen, man, if you turn me in, it's unlikely to lead anywhere. Her old man doesn't know I'm here, and you don't know who I am, so consider this one of life's adventures. If I find out what you told the police, I'll come back, and you won't survive this. Understood? Yes, he replies. I give him a mix of white rum and milk, which I call moose milk. Why not? He has almost 2 cases of rum in the cellar. He drinks more than a bottle before passing out. The first time I wake him up, I make him drink another quarter of the bottle before he passes out completely. Of course, I'm not going to let him go so easily. I have a little surprise for him. It's risky, but there are only 2 people besides me who will almost certainly understand who is to blame for what is about to happen next, and I was sure only one of them would think to tell. I look around the house again, making sure there are no obvious signs of someone else's presence. I check to make sure he won't wake up soon and cut his bonds. To get from his house to mine by bike, you have to drive through the Cardington industrial area. I manage to remove the tape from the bike and throw it in the trash. It's easy to see that Elaine doesn't know how to greet me. I take a quick shower while she thinks I haven't read any of the messages she sent before. I listen to the voicemails while I shower and laugh. When I go downstairs, she says, I don't know whether to hug you or kill you. I think my answer surprises her. You tell me in the car. Where are we going? She asks. You'll find out when we arrive. Let's go. We need to go. She is perplexed but follows me, and we get into the car. I head to the cafe where that idiot took her. As we get closer to his house, she starts to get nervous. When I park, blocking his driveway, she starts saying, Mac, I'm sorry. I didn't. I shout, silencing her, you said you don't know whether to hug me or kill me. Now is the time to decide. I hand her the cheap prepaid phone I bought with cash from Dick's credit card. His number is programmed into the phone. It's time to choose. There is no other way. You can't have it both ways. If you choose him, leave. If you choose me, call him and tell him you'll never see him again. If you do this, we will never talk about him again, okay? She takes a little longer than I would like but eventually nods in agreement as she dials the number. The explosion was amazing. Now I regret not letting her drive because I didn't see the expression on her face. I take the phone from her hands and turn the car around. After a couple of miles, I throw the phone out the window after first removing the battery. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of a couple of pints at Nags and then a curry. What do you say? I don't know if I expected an answer from her or not. She doesn't answer. When I park at the market and get out of the car, heading to Nags, I don't even check to see if she's following me. I know that if she doesn't come into the pub with me, I might have to answer a few questions. But really, how can it be my fault that he had a gas leak and it's a coincidence that his phone caused a spark? Hopefully, if she goes to the cops, I'll have a couple of pints before they come for me. I manage to drink 3 pints before she walks through the door. We sit in silence while she drinks a few vodkas, then we go to Jamal's for dinner. The next day, there is a short report on the local radio about a man killed in an explosion at his home, and terrorism is not suspected. The following day, it is revealed that the man had donated almost all of his property to the NHS, and an investigation is underway. A few months later, at the inquest, a verdict of suicide is returned. Elaine is still with me, but she's not sure if I had chosen him, whether I would have made that call. To be honest, I'm not sure either. What do you think of our story today? I think this story shows what happens if there's a cheater in the family. What was your reaction to all this? Write in the comments. See you in the comments.